and the overall area of the lake. By the same token, please keep a watch over our citizens in uniform, be they fire, police, or military. Amen.
Amen. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call from my right.
Damiano here.
Taylor here.
Butler here.
Wynn here.
Osborne here.
We have a quorum. Citizens' presentations limited to 3 minutes. This item provides the opportunity for citizens to address the EDC Board of Directors on any matter, whether or not it's posted on the agenda. However, in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Section 551.041, the EDC Board of Directors cannot discuss, deliberate, or take action on matters not listed on the agenda. At this time, the Board of Directors will receive citizen comments and, if necessary, may refer the matter to ED staff for research, resolution, or referral to the EDC Board on a future agenda. Do we have citizens' presentations? No. Item number 1. Discuss and/or take action to approve the EDC meeting minutes of January 8, 2018. Do I have a motion, please?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the EDC meeting January 8, 2019.
And a second?
I second.
Any discussion? Voting to approve from my right, please.
Damiano, yes.
Taylor, yes.
Butler, yes.
Wynn, yes.
Osborne, yes.
Item number 2, discuss and or take action to approve the December 18 GBC EDC month-end financial reports. Please refer to the December 31. We'll begin with looking at assets. It's December 31 and November 30, 18 statement of assets, liabilities, and equity. We are still running a month behind on this. I am hopeful that next month we will have both January and February. But we are in tax season. I think I've got everything squared away with the banks now, so we should be able to get back on track here. Looking first at under current assets, you see 6 deposit accounts. The Techstar account, I may be closing shortly. We don't use it. I just want to check their rates and make sure there are no hitches to closing it. The bottom account, Southside 5267 RBEG, this $100,000 has been sitting there since 2013 dormant. It is there under the U.S. Department of Agriculture Rural Business Enterprise Grant Program. And the idea with this program, it came about during Obama's Recovery Act. And the deal was that qualified recipients of grants, we could make those grants and then get reimbursed by USDA for it. It's never been used. I don't know that.
Yeah, it was used once.
Was it used once?
Yep.
Hasn't been used since. The account's been dormant for almost 6 years now. Under the state of Texas laws of its sheets, if account becomes dormant, the state can take it, then advertise, and you have to jump through hoops to go get it. So this account and the one above it, 7907, 527,000 and change, are both dormant. That has had no transactions since 2015. So I just made transactions in both accounts, switched 5,000 from one to the other and then back again. So they are out of the dormancy status, and we have the same balances. But on the RBEG situation, I'm talking to Yolanda with the USDA in Canton about whether that program is still active, if we can reactivate, if it can. It might be something that we can use. It maybe could have been something that we used for W House. Don't know. The interest rate on these accounts at Southside is 1.11%. And that $527,000 has been sitting there for 3 years anyway at that rate. And I would ask that you give some thought between now and the next meeting to taking maybe $200,000, putting it in a 6-month CD. The rate would be about 1.85 today. put another $200,000 in a one-year CD, which would probably be about 2.1%, and then at Prosperity, maybe do the same thing with two $100,000 pieces. That would increase our interest income in the range of $6,000 to $8,000 a year, which I think is worth it. The risk there is the demand for the money if something big pops up. The only contingent liability we have of any size is Elder Dodge. That's $100,000 a year over 5 years. So we're well set to cover that right now. Consider, in looking at the bigger picture on the annual budget, we had, I think, $460,000 last year as a budget, and about $240,000 to $260,000 of that is dedicated to just operating the office. That leaves us, when you're all is said and done, maybe somewhere in the range of $150,000 excess money that can be used for grants and loans. We do get some cash flow from current loans. In addition to the $1,340,000 that we have there, we have property with value $1.3 million, but who knows when that converts to cash or if it does. So at some point in time, we are going to be hard-pressed, and it's not for the next couple of years, I don't think. I just don't see too many more $500,000 Elder Dodge deals coming. But at some point in time, we will be pressed for what kind of funds that we have available. I don't think it's near term, and I think we would be safe to go ahead and go out to 6-month, 1-year CDs. Then as for the first 6-month CD matures, we reinvest it in a 1-year CD, and from then we've got the one that was a 1-year CD is now a 6-month CD, so we got the money rolling in a ladder. And if we did ever have to break it out, we could do it with a small penalty. On the asset side, we're going to have some discussion here in a bit on Big Chief Landing. In February of each year, this was originally, when we get to the liabilities, you'll see the loan there. It was originally a 10-year loan. We make a $60,000 payment each February. Add that to the money that we have dedicated to administration, and we're looking at close to $300,000 committed funds every year. That's how we get down at some point to only $150,000 a year ready for projects or grants. And the balance after the payment on this liability is $375,000. Something else worth thought is the loan is at 3%. The interest that we paid on it this year was $12,000. Whether that's worth having is a question of what's your outlook for liquidity going forward. Having the loan there and not paying it off certainly helps our liquidity, and that's the reason the loan was put in place in the first place, to not encumber too many assets. And paying it off would save us $12,000 a year in interest, but that's a big chunk of cash going out. And give that some thought as well, and if you have any ideas on it, give me a yell if you would, please.
What's the payoff?
The payoff would be the current balance, $375, plus interest from the last interest payment date, which was earlier this month. But that's how much cash it would take out of us to pay that off. Looking at our notes receivable, everything is in good shape. Note that Domino's paid off. That's down to zero. That has sold and is in the hands of owners that have 23 other East Texas, I think it's East Texas locations. Everything else is paid well. The balance on GBC Medical didn't change. They are paid through March. Bingo. On the second page here, there's no real change on the liability side to any extent. Long-term liabilities, there's that Big Chief Landing loan. You'll see next month it'll be down to $375,000 and change for a balance. So we continue to be liquid. Our auditor is getting very close to wrapping up and came up with 3 comments on internal controls that I'd like to read to you. The first one is payment to vendors. During the testing of disbursements, it was noted that EDC vendors were paid personally by board members who were then reimbursed by the EDC. In doing so, the EDC runs the risk of not properly identifying those vendors who should receive a 1099 at the end of the year. I recommend that all vendors be paid directly from EDC funds and proper measures be taken to ensure that payments can be made in accordance with retired terms. During the testing of disbursements, it was also noted that payments to board members for various reasons were also signed by the given board member. I recommend that if a board member is receiving a payment for any circumstance from the EDC, then said board member should not be a check signer for said check. Moral of the story is if you have something to pay for the EDC, see Lee Peterson and get the credit card. Don't pay it yourself and then get a reimbursement. And secondly, on handling billings approval for payment, they go to the CPA who cuts all our checks. Right now, Gary Damiano and I, as well as Teresa Cryer, the CPA, can sign checks. Any of the other 3 of you will need to be okaying payments. And Jamie or Lee will give you a call when we have those. We don't want to be, in my case, if I approved a payment for my limited liability company and went to the CPA and said, I'm the only one available, would you go ahead and put your signature on this that I can bill the EDC, cut a check to myself, and be gone. So we don't want to do that.
So you're going to add signers?
When we get our 2 more members, we'll probably add 1 more signer. But right now, it's just Gary and I.
One time we had like 5 signers.
Yeah. If you get too many signers, you get nobody to approve the payment. So we have to keep it kind of even, number of people that can do that. And it's a weekly thing, okaying those payments. Number 2 is bookkeeper responsibilities. During the audit testing, it was noted that the bookkeeper has signing authority on checks and also maintains all bank statements for the EDC. Upon request of the bank statements for the audit, neither the EDC nor the bookkeeper could furnish copies, and copies were requested from the bank. As the bookkeeper is the individual reconciling the bank statements, it is a weakness that the bookkeeper is also a check signer. These functions should be kept separate. I recommend the bookkeeper no longer be a check signer and that all bank statements be maintained at the EDC offices. We cannot do that right now. We've got to keep Teresa Cryer as a signer. If she wasn't, and either Gary or I were not available, then we can't get checks done. So we're going to have to leave her there for a while. I would further recommend that all bank statements be reviewed by the executive director and/or 1 board member, and that he or she approve the bank statements with their initials prior to the bookkeeper receiving them. The bookkeeper receives them by email. We have not previously had paper statements in the office, and before she even stuck her head in the door, I had binders. Jamie set up binders for us. We will have all bank statements, paper copies in the office, and I need them just for looking back at various times. Everything has been done by emailing statements before, and any city council members that have question about transactions, copies of the statements, and any checks are there, come on in and dig in. They're available. Don't need a, Freedom of Information request. Finally, grant documentation. Upon review of the grant and loan documents, I was unable to follow where the EDC was reviewing each grant to ensure that the recipients were in compliance with grant restrictions. Per inquiry of the executive director, there are procedures in place to ensure compliance. However, that was not noted when reviewing the files. I recommend the documentation be in each file, noting where a compliance issue was addressed, and all supporting documentation be maintained in each file to validate compliance. I think what we should do to satisfy that is just have a checklist before funding. And as a matter of fact, it not only helps us make sure everything is there, if you give the client a copy of it beforehand, they know exactly what they've got to provide. It'll make it a lot easier for all of us. Bingo. So cover that a little bit more when we get there.
Got a question on that.
Yeah.
On the compliance, that's the immediate compliance, but sometimes there's compliances that take place 6 years, 6 months or a year on down the road. Is that what you're referring to as well?
How do you mean?
Somebody commits to having a number of jobs after the first year in regards to a loan or a grant or something.
No, this is reference to, I think, on funding.
Okay, that's all I was.
Funding, make sure everything is there. Finally, you have one extra sheet here that you've not seen before. This is a profit and loss budget versus actual, and we're going to generate this monthly now. It shows expenditures by category for the current fiscal year. Then the budget for the year, it's all zeros. It wasn't in there at the time. She's got it in there now. How many dollars are we over budget? And what percentage of the budget are we over? And I'm hoping this will help satisfy the demand for more information. And it'll help us a lot to keep up with the budget and where we stand. So any discussion, questions, treasurer's reports? Oh, we did, I should add, on income and expense in December, facade improvement, $25,000. Excuse me, that was our $25,000 grant to W House, the first of the two, and we have moved that to other projects or future projects, I think. It shouldn't have been in the facade improvement area. We just have to be more careful when we give her something to tell her what it is. Any questions or discussion? Motion to accept.
I'll make a motion that we accept the December 2018 GBC EDC month-end financial reports. Nice job.
Second.
Voting from my right.
Damiano, yes.
Taylor, yes.
Butler, yes.
Jan? Yea or nay?
Wait, I got a question.
Yeah.
I didn't see that before the motion. Medical and dental, are we paying medical and dental?
Are we? No.
Do you want me to answer it?
Go ahead.
Okay. At this point in time, we are not paying medical and dental for employees. It is in our personnel policy that we do that as a reimbursement. But at this point in time, we have not been doing that.
Why is it in this?
Where is it? I didn't see it.
It's right here.
Oh, that's on the budget sheet. No, that's not valid. That account is not active. That's from, when is that? Way back?
2 years ago.
Sometime.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah, no. We do not pay any medical dental.
That's what I thought.
The last one was Rita, 5 years ago.
Was it? It's an old account that she's got in there. Then that'll all be cleaned up.
Okay.
Before we get, the budget wasn't even input in that sample that you've got. Your vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion passes. Item number 3, discuss and or take action on Scott Coleman's resignation. Do I have a motion?
I move that we take action on Scott Coleman's resignation.
Second? Discussion?
Second.
Scott is working on a consulting job in Ohio that's going to keep him there for a considerable period of time. He will be missed. He has great experience that could be of tremendous value to us, and I'm hoping when he gets old enough and has enough money tucked away, he can come back full-time and do something productive with us. Voting from my right.
Damiano.
Taylor, yes.
Butler, yes.
Wynn, yes.
Osborne, yes.
Motion passes. Item number 4, discuss or take action on Jim Nicholson's resignation.
I move that we take action on Jim Nicholson's resignation.
Second.
A second.
Discussion? No discussion. Voting from my right.
Yes.
Taylor, yes.
Butler, yes.
Wynn, yes.
Osborne, yes.
Motion passes. Item number 5, discuss or take action on Jim Taylor's resignation from Vice President. A motion, please.
I move that we take action on Jim Taylor's resignation from Vice President.
I'll second.
Yay. Discussion.
We'll miss him.
Voting from my right.
Damiano, yes.
Taylor, yes.
Butler, yes.
Wynn, yes.
Osborne, yes.
Motion passes. Item number 6, discuss and or take action on appointing a vice president.
I make a motion that we nominate Missy Butler as vice president.
Well, I'll second that. I would, first, as discussion, our bylaws give the vice president really just 2 responsibilities, and that is, number 1, in the absence of the commander-in-chief or president, you would be running the meetings, and secondly, review the bylaws annually for June. And we have started that process. I gave Mr. Peterson a first revision that had some of the things that we've talked about in it. And I think the real perk of the job is after 6 months of sustained superior performance, you might receive a fully paid trip to Eustis with the council person of your choice.
Okay.
Huh? And notice, council person, gender neutral,
That certainly is a motivator.
very millennial. Nominations are closed. Voting from my right on Mrs. Butler.
Damiano, yes.
Taylor, yes.
Wynn, yes.
Osborne, yes.
We have a vice president. If I take a heart attack, you're in.
Oh, yay.
Okay. Item number 7, governance plan for Gun Barrel City EDC, appoint committees. Where are we? A motion, please.
Well, I make a motion that we appoint committee. It doesn't say. Yeah, we appoint. Okay, that we appoint committees for the governance plan to take a look at the various areas, such as listed here, the programs, the bylaws, standing rules, and have them completed and ready to be reviewed at our next workshop.
Second. Discussion. What we're trying to do here is get people working on our different programs to bring them up to date, get them to where we'd like them to be, and excuse me, where legally they need to be. And I've designated some names on different communities on the facade improvement program, Jim Osborne and Jan Wynn. Boots to Business, Gary Damiano. I had Jim Nicholson there. When we get a new replacement for Jim, he will work with Gary on that. And the development grant, Missy Butler and Scott's replacement, whoever that's going to be. Loans and applications, Gary Damiano and I will work on that. And hopefully we can get these replacements filled quite quickly. And in doing so, we'd really like to see people that have a degree in either business finance, accounting, or some related field. Keep in mind that we are in the business of making loans and grants, and that requires that you be able to read an income statement, balance sheet, assess the viability of a business going forward, and whether or not they are effective looking backward. So more of that type talent would certainly be welcome here. Any discussion on those committees?
I have some discussion.
Yes.
Has anybody been working on the standing rules or the bylaws? Anybody on the board?
That's coming up later in the agenda.
Okay, so we don't know if anybody's been working on it yet?
I have, yeah.
You've been, has anybody else on the board been involved in that?
Well, I gave them to Lee, and he beat me up, and he and the mayor beat me up on them.
What about board members?
So we're starting in.
Any other board members
Would you like to?
I'm just asking for information.
No. I've got
You're
Missy.
the only one. You and Lee are the only ones that have been working on that? Okay.
The vice president is the one that's responsible for it, but there's always room for help.
Okay.
Okay? Voting from my right,
Yeah, Damiano, yes.
Taylor, yes.
Butler, yes.
Wynn, yes.
Osborne, yes.
Motion passes. Item number 8, discuss and/or take action on reviewing, revising, and editing the facade application, redevelopment application, boots to business, and loan application. Motion, please.
I make a motion that we appoint a committee to take care of the facade application, the redevelopment application, the boots to business, and the loan application.
Second.
I'll second that.
Discussion. What we're looking for particularly here is the idea that we are governed as a B-type EDC, that our main focus should be on generating sales tax, creating employment, and serving the public good. And that intent should be expressed in all of these programs, the one exception probably being facade application. The true, I think, and you might help me, Jim, the true underlying virtue of that program is that it improves the appearance of the business district and helps the business, hopefully. But we need to get real concentrated on increasing sales tax and creating jobs, particularly since we now know where we're going to be in a few years, probably as far as for having funding available, and I doubt the city will give us another 1/8 or 0.5% in funding, is to put businesses in place or improve existing businesses through these programs to the extent that we can. So it's really looking for a commitment to one of those or multiple functions there. Any other discussion? Voting, and we'd like to get standardized in our presentation materials as well. From my right, please.
Damiano, yes.
Taylor, yes.
Butler, yes.
Wynn, yes.
Osborne, yes.
Motion passes. Item number 9, discuss and or take action on reviewing, revising, and editing the standing rules, bylaws, 2018-19 budget. A motion, please.
Who's the committee on that, Jim, before we go? Do you have a committee laid out?
No.
Okay.
Need a motion.
Yeah, I make a motion that we move ahead to review and revise the standing rules or bylaws in the 2018-19 budget.
A second, please.
I'll second that.
Okay. Standing rules and bylaws really fall under the purview of our new Vice President, Mrs. Butler. Would anyone else like to assist her in that other than Mr. Peterson?
I'll work with her.
Okay. And then the 2018-19 budget I'm working on. Any other discussion there?
I have a question. So we're still operating under the 2017 standing rules?
Yes. Some of which are very invalid
Right.
because of changes to the home charter.
Right. Under agenda policy, agenda items can only be pulled or changed from the agenda by the person who submitted the agenda item. Is that still correct?
It is if the committee says it is, and it goes through that way. If we have suggestions on changes, give them to Missy or Gary. And what I'd like to do is have a workshop. I think it was March 4, a Monday at 9 o'clock in the morning, for us all together to go over these programs and the recommended changes.
In the meantime, if I were to place something on the agenda, then I would be the one to change it or pull it.
If that's what the bylaws says, yes.
Okay. I've had the experience prior to this of trying to get something on the agenda. I believe it was for our last meeting, and that was pulled by the executive director, not by me.
One of the, if I might try and clarify that, one of the things that is,
Well, I think Lee's
Yeah, Jan actually asked for an agenda item that we never put on the agenda because it's immaterial. She asked me to report to you, as you all know. With the new organization, I do not do that anymore. So I never did put it on the agenda. It was never pulled from the agenda.
But she could have put it on the agenda, according to our bylaws.
Right, and I tried to get it on the agenda, and it was never, Lee made the decision. Is that correct, Lee, to not put it on the agenda?
I believe at this point, items that go on the agenda with my agreement. And so the bylaws say only a person who puts it on the agenda can remove it, So if it's never there, it doesn't matter. And I do have the right to decide what goes on the agenda and what does not.
That's a good point for our discussion.
It is.
Yeah, we need further
Yeah.
discussion on that, because I'm not sure how you have the right to not put something on an agenda. Where are you getting that, Lee? Explain that, please.
Can I try and explain something?
I'd rather Lee explain it, if you don't
Well,
mind,
let
Gary.
me take a run at it.
I'm
Jan,
addressing
and
Lee.
See what happens, okay?
I'm addressing Lee
I'm
Peterson. He's our
so going
executive
to.
director.
Lee, answer it.
Okay.
Lee, do you have a source where that comes from?
I think I have a copy of the resolution. Resolution R 2018-009. The Gunbarrel City Economic Development Corporation shall have a board of directors consisting of 7 directors that are appointed and removed by the Gunbarrel City Council, managed by the Gunbarrel City Economic Development Corporation Executive Director. Pursuant to the authority granted by the Texas Local Government Code, any and all applicable sections of the Gunbarrel City Charter, Gunbarrel City Economic Development Corporation bylaws, and any and all applicable rules, policies, regulations adopted by the Gunbarrel City Council.
Yeah, I was just trying to clarify where you were getting that. Again, that
He's the horse.
Yeah. And that change itself changed that's one of the reasons for the changes in some of the rules that the EDC has, is because the organization itself has changed. And as he says, he doesn't report to the board anymore.
So let me just be clear, Lee, what you're saying is if I ask you to put something on an agenda, then you will make the decision whether or not you want to put my item on the agenda. You have that sole.
It entirely depends upon what the item is and whether it has relevance to where we are. Me reporting to the board. You wanting to talk about Big Chief is on the agenda.
I was referring to my previous agenda item last month.
I understand what you're referring to. Again, I will say that I do not make reports to the board. I make reports to the city council.
Right. I'm asking, again, if I ask you to put something on the agenda and you solely decide that you don't want that on the agenda, you're saying that it's your responsibility.
I believe between the president and I, we'll make that decision.
And if he gets too testy about it, none of us will show up for a meeting and nothing gets done.
Well,
how's that?
I'm trying to get a clarification on who all's involved and who makes those decisions.
Let's do it when we have a workshop. Okay? Any other discussion? Nothing. Voting from my right, please.
Damiano, yes.
Taylor, yes.
Butler, yes.
Wynn, yes.
Osborne, yes.
Item number 10, discussion or take action on a facade grant for Taylor Automotive in the amount of $5,000. Motion, please.
Let me ask a question here. I'm looking at this packet, and
Yep.
there's no bids. The 3 bids that we do with the facade program, and there's no total estimated cost of project. I looked at her canceled checks that show X number of dollars for the taxes paid and apparently what it was for the signage, but there's no bids in here.
So, Jim, I can answer that. I asked Mr. Jim Nicholson to come in, go through that facade grant, and pull out the pieces he felt he needed in order to approve the grant. So that's what you have in front of you. Trying not to make a copy of every possible piece in there. If there are some things we missed, we'd be happy to put those in next time. But we have the rest of those in the file if you desire to look at them.
So that's my question. It's not being nitty about do we have 3 bids?
Yes, sir.
We do. And Nicholson, but he didn't sign this application. You did, right?
Yes. Here's what I asked Mr. Nicholson to do. We had the entire completed application. to go through that application and pick out of there what he was comfortable in approving the grant and not copying every possible piece of that folder. Again, if there is an issue with all the bids, her bids are about this thick.
So you telling me that you've got the bids and anybody can go in the office?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
Just ask for the file.
That answers my question.
The good idea in the future, if we don't have everything in our package, to bring the file with you. I can go get it. No, that's all right.
No, but I think you're right, Jim, that, we just have it just because a guy that never did a facade grant
Yeah.
was working on this one, and, I've done a couple of them, so,
I've heard that.
so, but anyway, that was my concern, that there wasn't a dollar amount of what the project is, and just saying that in a totally different subject, the rewards we're going to see with W House with the projects that he's doing on the restaurant and the old Princess Building is unbelievable.
Beautiful.
Gorgeous, gorgeous.
Okay, do we have a motion on the Taylor item? No relation, I might add. Is there a motion?
We need to, I motion to table it until we can look at the other bids.
Would you get that file?
Say, I'm
the
comfortable
file.
that we got the bids. I mean, if he says we've got the bids,
You want to take a vote on her motion? You want to take a vote on her motion?
she wants, here.
'Cause it won't go anyplace.
I don't have time to go through them all right now.
No.
Can we table this until we can,
Are they there?
I'm not sure, I don't have time to look through every
Sure you do.
bid. It's a thick packet, I don't have time to read this whole thing and go over it.
He said they're there.
Well, I'll have to look at all of it, Jim.
Have at it.
See what the- Do you want to see it?
Yeah, here.
Of the things that we have changed is on our facade grant application, it says we will not approve a grant until it's completed. So this is the first one we ever have completely completed before we actually brought it before you. So the whole thing has been done at this point.
And that's an issue to be thinking about in revising this things. I don't know why someone would go out and spend $20,000 on facade improvement without knowing beforehand that we were going to give them a grant. So bam.
We're getting down to the last quarter inch. I'm good with it, on my side. Caldwell Banker spent over 40 on theirs.
All right, Jim's okay with it. Voting, where were we? Were we voting?
Well, she's got a motion on the table. So she either needs to remove that. or
Has anybody made a motion?
Pass it or kill it, and then have a new motion, depending on the outcome.
We got a second? I'll second it,
Seconded. Voting from my right.
What's the motion?
that we're going to accept.
The motion was the table it.
Oh, that was the first motion made, wasn't it? Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, you got it.
Motion to table. Voting from my right.
No.
Taylor, no.
Butler, no.
Win, yes.
Osborne, no.
Motion's defeated. Need a motion on item number 10.
I move we take action on a facade grant for Taylor Automotive in the amount not to exceed $5,000.
Second.
Yes.
Voting from my right.
Damiano, yes.
Taylor, yes.
Butler, yes.
Win, abstain.
Osborne, yes.
We will now adjourn into executive closed session of the Board of Directors. The Gun Barrel City EDC will now hold a closed executive session meeting pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code in accordance with the authority contained in Texas Government Code 551.087, Economic Development Negotiations Proposed Project Bismarck. The time is 5:41. I would hope this does not take more than 10 minutes. One, two, three, four, five. Reconvene into open session. The Gun Barrel City EDC will now reconvene into regular session pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code to take any action necessary regarding the items discussed in executive session. Item number 11, discuss and or take action to approve Bismarck as a project and authorize advertising for a public hearing to be held on March 12, 2019. Do we have a motion? Yeah, let me drop the date. Period. Yes, in your motion, please drop the date.
I'll motion to take action to approve Bismarck as a project and authorize advertising for a public hearing to be held later.
I'll second.
Voting from my right.
Damiano, yes.
Taylor, yes.
Butler, yes.
Wynn, yes.
Osborne, yes.
Motion passes. Item number 12, discuss take action to remove from the table the National Lawnmower Races Association request and for sponsorship of $4,000 for 2019 Gun Barrel City race. Motion, please.
I'll make a motion that we remove from the table the issue with the National Lawnmower Races.
Second, any discussion on removing it from the table? Voting from my right.
Damiano, yes.
Taylor, yes.
Butler, yes.
Wynn, yes.
Osborne, yes.
Motion passes. Item number 13, discuss and or take action regarding the National Lawnmower Races Association request and for sponsorship of $4,000 for 2019 Gun Barrel City race. Motion?
There's nobody here from the National Lawnmower Races.
Here's my thought on it, and I'll just interject this thing. The best thing we did was the quilters. Those people started with 300-some people coming in from out of town to over 600 now. That was a worthwhile investment for us to attract new people to the area. This thing's going to hold, 40 or 50 people that'll come into this, and we're spending about the same kind of money. That doesn't make any business sense to me, period.
You know, I love anything that brings people into the city, but
the
what are they
difference in
bringing?
the quality of person that you're going to get to this quilters thing, you could just take a look at the cars in his parking lot over there. It tells you what the people's wherewithal was, and this is a group of guys that are going around racing lawnmowers, and there's 40 or 50 of them versus 600.
They're going to stay in motorhomes, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're going to bring their own motorhomes.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, the Lawnmower Association is doing a little bit something different this year. The city's also having a event at the same time as the lawnmower races to try to bring more people in. They're having a hoop-to-hoop contest and some other stuff that they're working together right now with the Lawnmower Associations to make that a little bigger than it has been, to see if we can bring in more people than they have been bringing in the past.
Yesterday I talked to Mr. Howell. Is that the one that's the... Yeah. I talked to him yesterday about perhaps having some sort of a logbook and have a raffle of some sort if there could be some items locally donated. And anytime you get a ticket, you have to write down what city you're from and whether you're there for the sporting event or for the races event. No names or anything like that, but just a notation of where people are coming from. When I was talking to him, he kept on a one-track motion that the people that were coming were just the racers, and there were not spectators. He did admit that there were some spectators, but the majority of the people coming for the race was just the racers. So there needs to be some sort of a way that we can evaluate where the people are coming in and what they are coming in for.
Did he give you anything? He was supposed to work up a project sheet for y'all to give you an idea of what were coming and all.
Yeah, he had-
supposedly I thought he had done that already.
It had no financial information, just names of people that were involved with it from the association and locally.
Do you
And
have,
along the lines of that, what you said, Ron, I don't think that tailgate thing has been approved yet to go forward at the same time. Well, there's been no date set for the lawnmower races. The Cove event, the tailgate party or whatever it is,
Yeah.
that hasn't been scheduled yet either.
No, it hasn't been scheduled. That was something that was basically in the plans, from what I hear, to work with the lawnmower association they're having this time to see if it's good enough, if it happens this time, if it is good for the city to bring in people or not. And if it's not, then next time we possibly won't even do it again. We got to be able to make sure we bring stuff that people will come out and enjoy and have fun doing.
Let me ask you another question then. Is there a time frame set to figure out whether that tailgate event's going to happen? Is there set a date for it? Or?
I don't know if they've set a date for sure yet, but hopefully by the next meeting, by y'all's next meeting, we could probably have, hopefully, Mike Howell and them and Mickey, which is working on this tailgate deal, maybe with them two together can sit down and give y'all more definite information on everything.
Okay.
Do what? They haven't actually scheduled it yet. When I was talking to Mr. Howell yesterday, he said that he needed to know what our decision was going to be so that he could report it to the national guy and so that he could actually go ahead and put it on the agenda. So it's not even on an agenda for them yet.
None of the other events are even slated for the city council agenda, so
I just don't see how we can throw good money.
is there a representative from the lawnmower races here?
No.
Can we recognize?
Lee, do you have he did send an email, didn't he?
Yeah, but it had no financial information.
That's what I thought. Do you have a copy of that email he sent? Is it in the? I didn't see it. Do you? If you have it, can you read us the email he sent?
That's it.
Oh, there it is.
Mr. Henderson, what do you have to say?
I just want to add, we're going to give them one. I've been to the lawnmower races. They're fun. I've had a turn like them. My question is, we're going to give them $4,000 to bring in these people again to race. That's basically what it's for. They bring these people into the race. I don't know about the private race, but they'll keep that track up. Who does that? What's the cost to the city for all that?
The Lawnmower Association.
That's our year round, and we got to keep it up and keep it maintained and all that for a one race a year deal. It costs a whole lot more than $4,000 to the city of Gunnersville to do that. This is just $4,000 additional money we're putting up there.
Well, the city leases that property for their maintenance stuff, and in return, they keep the fields mowed. And then the Lawnmower Association, as to my understanding on the last meeting, he said that they come in and they set up all the fencing and all the hay bales. They make it a track and make it safe. They have safety experts that come in and do all that. So they incur that expense.
All right, item 13 dies for lack of a motion. Is that proper handling, Mr. Ray?
That's one way to do it. Yeah.
All right, if they want to come back later, they can certainly do that. Item number 14, discuss and or take action on painting the name Gun Barrel City on the new water tower with a 50-50 partnership with the city of Gun Barrel City not to exceed $4,000 from EDC.
I have one comment. I understand that there has been some discussion about whether or not the EDC can fund this. The Texas Attorney General's opinion of 2003 says the following: whether a hippopotamus statue would serve a Hutto Economic Development Corporation promotional purpose is a question of fact for the EDC Board of Directors to resolve in the first instance, subject to judicial review and the supervisory authority of the Hutto City Council. So an idea for promotion is in the mind of the EDC Board.
Does that fall under advertising?
Certainly. Promotion, advertising, promotion.
So where are we at in the budget? Because we can only spend 10%.
We can take it out of the
Marketing.
marketing line item, which we were able to roll over. We were able to roll over, I think, Missy, about $36,000 from last year that we didn't spend. So that budget is over $70,000.
All right, motion on item 14.
I make a motion that we spend, authorize the EDC to spend up to $4,000 in, along with the city contribution of the same or equal value, to paint the Gun Barrel City Water Tower with our name.
Second, Mr. Wyrick, you are the sponsor. Talk to us. Councilman Wyrick. Council.
You saw in your package the water tower and all. I make the water board meetings every month to see what's going on. This water tower they've been working on for a couple of years. They got all their preliminaries. They're supposed to start building here pretty shortly. They're in the planning stage of starting to build it now. But when they come up and went to talking about the logos and stuff on the side of it, question was brought up. The old tower, the first water tower was built in Gun Barrel. Who paid for it? Well, we can't track it back that far because it goes back so far. We don't know if the city paid for it or the East Cedar Creek Water Department paid for it. So they got me a quote on what it would cost us to put the logo, the Texas flag in Gun Barrel City, the same as our other water tower on it. And working with them, I have a meeting next month, or this month with them again, to see if they'll split this $8,400 50-50 with us and y'all. So if they will, then it'll cost us a little less than what we're looking at for right now at $4,000 a piece, or $4,000. But that logo, to me, it's in the we do events and stuff outside of the city for bass tournaments and these other places, you know, that's not really part of Gun Barrel City, but here we have a water tower now that's actually in Gun Barrel City. To me, that's a logo for Gun Barrel City when people drive in to see this water tower. You're in Gun Barrel City. You're not in this East Cedar Creek Freshwater District. So,
where is this water tower at?
The new water tower is going to be down at Tamarack. You know, as you go out of 334 down the hill, there used to be an old water tank there. That's where they're building a new water tower.
So is it visible for 178 or 175? Will it be visible from 175?
It'll be almost probably so. You'll be able to see it from Maybank. It'll be as visible as this one we have right now when you come across the lake. If you come out 334 either way, or you come up 198 either way, it's going to stick out like a sore thumb because it's a 300,000 gallon water tank above ground.
So it will be visible from 175 if you're coming from Athens going to Dallas.
Yeah, it'll look just like the one that you're looking at right now, stuck up in the air. So
Okay. Additional question, Ron. Is this logo just on one side of the tower or on two, or?
I was going to ask that at their meeting because, you know, they're just showing two, but if I ain't mistaken, this water tower down here has one on both sides.
That's part of why I'm asking.
To me, and what really shocked me out of the whole deal is they got bids to do all this. To me, if I was bidding this and you give me a picture of it, I would bid putting that sign on there. But they didn't bid it with the Texas flag and Gun Barrel City on it. They just bid it with their East Cedar Creek water. So
who owns the tower itself?
Huh?
Does East Cedar Creek own the tower?
Actually, everyone sitting in here owns that tower. Whoever gets a bill from East Cedar Creek Water, we own that tire.
So is East Cedar Creek Water Supply going to be on the tower?
East Cedar Creek Water will own the tire, but the tire is owned by the citizens of Gun Barrel
No, but
City,
the-
or anybody with East Cedar Creek Water.
Yeah, but the name East Cedar Creek Water, is that going to be on the tower along with Gun Barrel City, or is it just Gun Barrel City?
No, it'll have just like the here. It'll have East Cedar Creek Water, freshwater supply
I was just
district,
asking, yeah.
and then below it, I'll have the Texas flag with Gun Barrel City on it. So
Okay. Stop him.
Yeah.
Hey, Ron,
Did-
why didn't, with all the money that the city spent with their Gun Barrel City logo that we've got out in front and here and on the printed materials, why didn't they consider putting that up there instead of a state flag? I mean,
well, I really can't. I really can't say one way or another. You know, it's sort of like you already got one down here that's already got just the state of Texas on it, and then they're putting a brand new water tower. If we put it with our logo on it, do we want to turn around and ask them to change this one down here where we got the same logos on both tires, where it actually identifies us?
No, it doesn't relate to it.
This is basically just identifying Gun Barrel City. You know, if you look up, hey, listen, I'm in Gun Barrel City. See that water tower? So.
Can you repeat that?
I said, without a contract, they can pay over it 3 months later. That's why I added to over.
Well, we got a tire that's been sitting in here for over 50 something years down here with the Texas flag in Gun Barrel City, and they ain't painted over it yet. So, to me, it's a no brainer, but it's up to y'all to decide if y'all want to spend the money for it and move that way or not.
All right, any further discussion here?
I have a question for Mr. Peterson. In the statute 505.158, it says, nonetheless, the board of directors must determine the assistance will promote new or expanded business development. If the assistance will promote new or expanded business development, the Type B corporation is authorized to fund the project. I don't see how this is going to bring in any new business or promote it, because the advertising isn't, I mean, if it's going to be both East Cedar Creek and Gun Barrel, there's not a benefit to us, because what are you going to read first?
The problem with Gun Barrel City is it has no signs anywhere that notify Gun Barrel City. And when I came here to interview, the first sign I saw was in 7 Points, turning across the pond. So one of our most tremendous issues is the fact that people do not know if they're in Maybank, Gun Barrel City, 7 Points, Kemp, or Eustis. And so having the name of the city on the water tower should be something we could look at. Somebody driving into town for the weekend knows they're in Gun Barrel City, where otherwise they just may not. I am aghast at the absence of any signage for Gun Barrel City, Texas.
Lee, there's two signs, brick signs as you come in 198, both north and south, that are maintained by the beautification committee.
Yeah, they're great.
I don't know that there's anything east-west on 334, but as you come in, they've got a flag up there, a light,
Right.
blah, 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 and then the other one where the doctor's office.
They're really great, Jim. I think they're excellent. The problem is when you're out on 175, there is a sign. If you come from Athens to turn this direction, there is. If you come the other way on 175, there is no sign to Gun Barrel City.
I've been banging around here 20 years, and I've never seen the other water tower.
Yeah.
I just,
You ever look?
line of sight doesn't go that high, not enough broadband. Any other discussion? Voting from my right.
I was afraid of that. Yes.
Taylor, no.
Butler, no.
Wynn, no.
Osborne, no.
Motion dies. Item number 15, discuss and or take action to approve Executive Director Lee Peterson to attend TEDC 2019 Legislation Conference in Austin, Texas on February 20 to 22, 2019 at a cost of $800. It includes registration, hotel, mileage, and meals. Is there a motion? I'll make the motion. Discuss and or take action to approve Executive Lead Peterson to attend TEDC 2010 Legislative Conference in Austin, February 20 to 22nd, 2019, at a cost of $800, including registration, hotel, mileage, and meals.
I'll second.
We have a second. Discussion. Mr. Peterson, tell us about it, please.
Major reason that I would like to go to this conference is not the legislative part. I have a friend who is in the Department of Economic Development of the state by the name of Larry McManus. Larry has moved over to the Department of Agriculture. The Department of Agriculture now is the house for the community development block grants in Texas. He and his staff are going to be there to present an entire program on the community development block grant program and how we access that, and I would like to have that opportunity.
Could you do this by just going down there to see him without doing the conference?
I certainly could, but we wouldn't get the whole load.
What's on there?
He's going to have his entire staff there to explain the community development block grant, how it works in Texas.
Okay. What else is on the agenda that's of interest?
Visiting with legislators. Did you put that in here? There is a guy from the U.S. Army Command that's talking about the new things that are going to occur with the Army. I don't remember what it is.
We don't have a lot of military contractors here.
Right.
Well, I understand that, but there is some new things going on with the military command for new science in Austin, Texas.
Any other discussion here?
Is there a closer workshop you can do?
This is the only legislative conference of the year. They always have it in Austin because the legislators are there. And the first night there is a reception with legislators, which I'm going to try to get to attend on Wednesday evening.
Once you go to this, do you intend to do a presentation to us about what you've learned?
Oh, I have not considered that, but would certainly be happy to do that if that's the board's desire.
Anything else?
I'd like to see that. If you go to the workshop, I need you to do a presentation to us about what you've learned.
Happy to.
Any other discussion? Voting from my right.
Damiano, yes.
Taylor, yes.
Butler, yes.
Wynn, yes.
Osborne, yes.
Motion passes. Get him out of my hair for a couple of days.
Yeah.
Item number 16, discuss and or take action to approve a board member or EDC employee to attend the Basic Economic Development course in Rockwall, Texas on June 11 to 14, 2019 at a cost of $2,000, an individual to be determined at a later date by the Executive Director.
I so move to send a board member or employee, which will be selected by the Executive Director, to the Basic Economic Development 4-day training course in Rockwall, Texas on June 11th to 14th, 2019 at a cost not to exceed $2,000.
Second,
I'll second.
discussion.
This says to be determined by the Executive Director. I wanted to go to this at the first of the month, but that didn't happen.
This is the replacement for that, Jan. I was very uncomfortable in spending $2,000 without the board's approval.
Okay. How are you going to select the individual to be determined at a later
I have not
date?
determined that at this point. Don't know.
You don't have the criteria about the
I
selection?
do not have
of the individual?
criteria yet. We need to look at people, how long people will be on the board, what their term is on the board. We need to look at a variety of things to try and determine who that might be. And I'll put that together. I'll be happy to work with the officer leadership and try to get something put together.
What can a board member get out of this that they can't get by reading statute 501, 502, 505?
This is not really statute. This is not statute. It is not open meetings. That's the tax workshop. This is actually professional economic development, where they take you through 4 days of how do you do economic development.
How to knock on the door and say hello?
No, nobody does that but me. It's more the process that you go through. When I attended it at the University of Portland in 1988, we did, what do you call it when you play at something? We had somebody be a business, and we were the economic development people, and we tried to do what we needed to do to convince them to come to our community. So,
Is it more relevant to a board member that's a volunteer for 2 years if they finish their term, or for an employee?
it would be more beneficial for an employee who's going to be around for a while.
But him having said that, I've been to it. It's great.
Yeah?
Because you get a chance to talk to other folks that are in economic development, what they're doing, problems they've had, the solutions that they've come up with. And that doesn't even get to the presentations.
So you definitely need a little time in the bucket before you go.
It was very helpful.
Okay.
Because, yeah.
All right. Any other discussion?
Is that the cost to attend the seminar?
Yeah, that includes hotel room and mileage. I don't know that for Rockwall, somebody has to stay in a hotel. I suppose there's some benefit to it, but
My parents live in Rockwall.
can they put them up?
I go twice a week to visit my elderly parents.
How long does it take you?
It takes me, man, can't you never take little shortcuts in the back and I might go all the way to Dallas and cut across my Royal Bridge and all that good stuff?
Hour?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, depending on-
I have a question.
Anything else?
Gary, you said you'd been
Yep.
before?
Yep.
How long were you on the board before they sent you?
Probably
You were
a
on
year and a
another.
half, 2 years.
You were on another board, correct?
Say that again?
You were on a previous EDC board.
I've been on 3 previous EDC boards.
Did this particular board send you
No.
in Gun Barrel, or did somebody else?
No, this was about a year and a half, 2 years ago. No.
It was here.
Yeah, a year and a half,
Was
2
it
years
from
ago.
Gun Barrel?
Oh, was it
Yes.
from Gun Barrel?
No,
That's
this
what-
was the Gun Barrel City.
Okay, so
EDC.
that board paid for you
Yes.
That is
to
correct.
attend.
That is correct.
And how long had you been before you?
Yeah, Jan, I'm going to say a year and a half to 2 years, but I don't remember exactly.
Okay,
But I was here for a while.
Okay.
I was also VP of the organization at the time.
yeah. I'm just asking for some criteria about who's going to be selected for this $2,000 basic economic development course. But you said you'd get that for us, correct, Lee? What the criteria for selection will be?
Okay. Voting from my right?
Damiano, yes.
Taylor, yes.
Butler, yes.
Win, yes.
Osborne, yes.
Motion passes. Item 17, discussion of January 23, 2019 educational event. Let's say it was wonderful. It was very educational. Does anybody have anything significant to add beyond that? We're running very late.
Yeah, I think it was time well spent.
We're all so wonderful to go there and spend your time there. I just want to make sure it was valuable for you all. And I have heard from some that it was, but I have not heard from others. So it's very important as we continue to do educational events, you know what's valuable to you.
Okay, very good. Item 18, discussion on next educational event.
I have been charged to continue the education process for both the board and the city council. My event, I hope, in May will be a trip to a like community of ours, about the same population, same idea for trying to recruit retail. They do have a bit of industry, and they have created an $11 million baseball field in order to attract baseball tournaments to their community. And I think sitting down with them and talking about how they do what they do would be very valuable to all of you.
Field trip.
Field trip.
Road trip.
Cool.
Cameron, Texas.
Before we do that, let us get beyond all this administrative load and maybe get into the business of trying to find business, and then do
Yeah.
that.
I just want to know if that's kind of okay. Some people said it is.
I think it'd be worthwhile. Okay, item 19, discuss and or take action to market the Big Chief property with a for more information sign. Do we have a
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we delay putting any sort of a sign up on that property, and to revisit that option as we go down the road. The EDC currently has certain commitments that were made that have been unfulfilled in relation to the purchase of that property. There was a committee at one, and this is all in the motion, by the way. There was a committee at one time to look at the use of the Big Chief property. I am suggesting that that the executive director reconvene a committee to take a look at the uses of the
Let's
property.
deal with the agenda item as it's written.
Kind of what I did. Okay.
Discuss and or take action to market the Big Chief property with a for more information sign.
I believe that was my item on the agenda.
Is that your motion? I'll
Is that my
second it.
motion?
Yes.
I second it. Discussion. Jan?
Lee, can you give us the history of, just a short history of Big Chief and what we tried to do in the past?
Came in long after it was discussed about the Civic Center for Big Chief. That, if you read in the information we left for you, that's kind of the impression that was given, that Big Chief would become a community center and be deeded back to the city. I think, Gary, you probably know more about that than I do.
Yeah, that was part of the deal. I'm going to reference something here in an effort to answer that. I'm going to be very upfront. I don't know if you were on the board at the time that was purchased, were you? I'm sorry?
He put the deal together.
Okay. Keith was on the board, Jim Osborne was on the board, and I was. The property was purchased with the idea that we'd put a convention center there.
And we have tried, I have tried to interest a hotel in the Big Chief property. I have tried with every sporting goods store I can find to interest them in putting an on-the-lake boat, jet ski, sporting goods shop. I have failed miserably in every area. And so for the last, I would say, 6 months, Big Chief has just been sitting there as a boat landing for people who want to use it on the lake. There have been a few things churning around, but nothing that has made any sense. And from what I understand from y'all, if we do something on Big Chief, y'all want it to be spectacular. So I have told the realtor you're talking about that he has every right to market Big Chief. There is nothing stopping him from giving it to his clients or whoever they are. And we would be more than happy to look at a proposal if, in fact, he brought that to us. And we would if it was something we were interested in and we move forward, we'd be happy to pay him a commission on that as well.
Yeah, that realtor is Peter Cosley with Henry S. Smith, and I've been talking to him as well. He wants to put a for more information sign on that property. He's got a database of big developers out of Dallas. He's trying to attract attention to that property. And he does have a proposal, and I had asked him to present his proposal tonight, but I think you wanted to wait on that, Lee. So he does have a whole proposal for that.
If he has this database of investors, why does he need a sign?
He says he needs the for more information sign so they've got a number, people can see it.
But they're in Dallas, right?
Right.
They're not here to see the sign.
Well, you have people from Dallas to come in, and he'll be sending developers.
I don't see any reason to limit it to one realtor.
I agree.
Particularly not a local realtor.
Well, I think he's trying to attract attention to the property, and I don't know of any other realtors that have expressed interest in doing that.
I don't know.
At least he's expressing an interest in trying to get Big Chief developed in some way, and he understands that we want in Lee's words, spectacular building or whatever we decide on Big Chief property.
Yeah, I think the last thing local realtors knew was that we wanted a convention center of some type there, because I doubt that anything has been discussed publicly since it was purchased 3 years ago.
I don't know. That was his idea, and Lee said he's apparently tried to contact people to no avail. So my idea is let's give this guy a chance and see if he can do what he says he can do. And again, he had a proposal ready tonight. Lee did not want that on the agenda tonight. He had a proposal for the whole board.
Nor did I. I just don't see a reason. If he's got all these investors, he doesn't need a sign here. If the investors are in Dallas, they're not here to see the sign. Unless their third cousin's brother's uncle comes by or something, you know?
He thinks it would be helpful to have a sign up there.
and-
He's not trying to sell the property. He's trying to attract more attention to the property.
If we were to put a sign on it, I think it should say, contact the EDC for more information,
Well,
which is not a bad idea.
No, I'm sure he would be,
Say again? Yeah, please.
Your suggestion is exactly what I was going to say.
What's that?
The piece of property was bought. Just, there are some new board members. The piece of property was bought at a distressed value.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. It could have been sold for a 20-25% profit 50 times.
I worked for the bank that owned it.
My suggestion would be, you've got a proposal from a realtor. That realtor is not going to work for free. There's no doubt about it. My suggestion would be, since we have this new resolution that makes the executive director the be-all, end-all at the EDC, I would say that you put a board information call and the EDC phone.
Yeah.
That would be.
I would suspect within the first week, the EDC director would have a report for the city council as to what telephone call they got, who they were from, and what they.
I think it would probably be pretty exciting. And useless for the most part. Yeah. You know, basically we have a choice. Do we want somebody else to come up with an idea of what we want there, or do we want to do it? And that's working in conjunction with city council. But, you know, I would say for now, my thought is dismiss this. It's good discussion topic, ongoing, person to person or whatever. Any other discussion? Yes, sir.
Some of us worked very hard to get that program down there. I agree that we need to put something else down there also, to get some revenue to the city, but don't do away with the program.
I think the city wants to see it there.
Gun Barrel City, guys.
Yeah, I think the
Nobody's
city wants
suggesting
to
that.
see it stay there. And it was in the convention plan, it stayed there.
That was the one thing. That's the only vote round in Gun Barrel City.
Yeah, that's it.
Nothing vote.
Okay, voting from my right.
What are we voting on?
Action to market the Big Chief property with a for more information sign.
Put up there by us, correct?
By anybody.
Can't do that.
That's the agenda item, a sign for more
Jim?
information. Doesn't say a
Vote.
realtor, doesn't
Vote.
say the EDC.
But referring people to the EDC,
I'm in favor of that.
I'm in favor of that.
Jim?
too.
Yeah.
May I ask a question? That's that big sign where the Sears store is supposed to be, is that correct? Is that the sign I was talking about?
No,
There's not a sign up
there is no sign.
Or is it Big Chief, where that book might be?
Yeah, that used to be the Big Chief Marina, but now, all the buildings been torn down.
I thought there was a sign out there. It's not working. But isn't there a big...
electronics.
Right,
Electronics
it's
are-
not working.
Yeah, the wiring's gone, everything's gone.
Oh, okay.
Well, my question is,
The power to all that was disconnected when we.
businesses have, I would love to have that sign, my sign up there. Because people are coming from Camp, Seven Points, to Gun Barrel, I drive all the way to Tyler and see everything in between. I'm a Dallas.
What's this have to do with our agenda item?
I was asking if anybody could get information on the sign.
Yeah. Gary, redo the motion.
Okay, Jim. I vote that the EDC put up a sign on the property saying to contact the EDC if people have any interest or ideas related to this property.
Second. Voting from my right.
Damiano, yes.
Taylor, yes.
Butler, yes.
Win, yes.
Osborne, yes.
Motion passes. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Done. Meeting is adjourned at 6:33.